What do you think about the fact that it's kind of got this, in that section, it's almost this weird 2.5D rather than 3D,
right.
and it's not comic book flat. It almost looks like it's purposely not real.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they're not going for the same thing as the movie.
Right, they're not. It's not the actors per se.
But it's also not comic book.
Right,
It's not flat graphic.
Yeah.
All right, it's this weird, like I call
In
it,
between.
2.5D. It's almost
Sure.
like an After Effects thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I like.
I like
but
it too.
I think the audience is more 12 to 14.
So what I noticed the first time I saw it was it reminded me a lot of the Justice League cartoon intro graphics, if you remember that.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
it was like silhouettes almost with kind of
which was fantastic.
backlit, right? And it was like you'd have.
But how old were you when you first were attracted to that?
Geez, I mean, like, that was, I don't know, when did that come out? Like 2003. So I was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe.
Oh, is that it? I love Justice League
But
when I was
I mean,
a
I
child.
like it now. Like, I think it's awesome. But yes, I think it's not like the Uncanny Valley where it's like if you watch a movie that's 3D animated and the characters don't quite look right, but they're trying to make them lifelike. I don't think they're trying to make them
I
look
agree.
like people. I think this scene's cool.
And I guess, is that supposed to be like his voice is breaking the sound barrier?
That's what I was getting. Is it was like
a
sound waves,
wave?
right?
Okay.
Because when you watch
it's so
that,
powerful.
and when you watch that scene play through, you see it carry like through the city to all these different places, kind of around the world.
Right.
And you see that kind of,
The death of
visual
Superman.
graphic of that ripple effect, and then you hear it in the sound design too, right? And I think it helps sell the idea that, because later in the movie you find out that that the mother boxes, these things that call out to Darkseid, had been asleep because basically they were scared of Superman, right?
Right.
And so I think it helps sell the idea that even though they're in these different locations, like you have the one in Themyscira, which is where the Amazons live, you have the one in Atlantis, and you have the one, I guess, in Metropolis or whatever, but they all recognized Superman's death. So I think it helps sell that idea that they all like heard that he died, right? Because like he was so powerful that his voice carried.
Once you go from kind of that reflective scene to this scene, you're opening up with this character.
Sure.
Almost like, are you going to say this is from his point of view? So regardless of that, what I'm saying is I think they were a little more politically correct with this film, period, in that they feature more the woman and the African American more so than the old white dudes.
Yeah, and it ends up being, I think the film ends up being more on like a character journey standpoint about Cyborg as opposed to any of the other characters. Because, I mean, Superman comes back from the dead, obviously, and saves the day. And Batman is not very different now than he was at the end of Batman versus Superman, whereas in Batman versus Superman, he's kind of the bad guy, and he's trying to kill Superman, and then he realizes, like, the error of his ways. But, like, in this movie, he spends the whole time trying to bring all these people together. He doesn't really change as a character.
But he has a catharsis. He realized what he had done previously and admits to it was a mistake.
Right. But,
okay, and he asks almost for forgiveness, which I thought is a beautiful moment for Batman, because Batman's the darkest, the toughest, the most roguish. He's seems to be everything.
Sure.
And he's working towards good, but he does it in only the way that he knows how to do it.
I didn't have a big problem with Batman in the last movie being more, I don't know if militant is the right word, but more rugged, like more of a bad guy in terms of he was going out and just branding criminals and like
I agree, but
beating them to death.
Right, but he's acting out on and being thrust to do that because of Superman.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying is I didn't have a problem with it.
And I think he truly hated Superman.
Well, yeah, because he thought Superman was responsible for the death of all these people in Metropolis and stuff, and he had a personal connection.
Well, that's a whole different thing, isn't it?
Well, sure,
because
you can actually get into that.
Up to that movie, Superman didn't kill people.
Sure, yeah, he did. He did kill General Zod intentionally, but it's not like...
No, but what I'm saying is I think up to that point, Superman in comic books and stuff wasn't known for killing people, right?
No, definitely that was definitely the exception to the rule. I I'm sure there's a few times where it's happened, but it's not like Superman's going out trying to kill people.
What about Batman? Was Batman known for killing people?
You know, Batman is...
I thought he tied people up and he did this and that.
Yeah.
All right, so my point being
yes, traditionally neither of them killed people.
Right. So if Batman is observing the behavior of Superman,
right,
and all of a sudden Superman goes beyond this point of what Batman has observed to that point,
sure,
and goes over to having killed innocent people in those buildings and stuff that he destroyed,
whether it was intentional or not.
Right.
Sure.
Then Batman, who feels like he's the guardian,
right,
is all of a sudden sitting here going, wow, this guy's gone over the deep end. I got to find a way to stop him.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, you've got the element of, in Batman versus Superman, he has been Batman, and they say it again in Justice League, he's been Batman for like 20 years. So this is a dude who's seen the worst of the worst for 20 years. It's not like he's a little jaded, for sure.
Well, and he's done all the work to kind of clean things up and make it semi-peaceful.
So I didn't have a problem as much with him when he sees Superman being able to like just level a city unintentionally.
Right.
Being like, I need to get rid of this dude. You know, like that makes sense to me.
Right.
But going back to as far as in this movie, he starts out being the unifying force.
Right.
And he is the unifying force the whole movie.
So he's the coach. I mean,
Sure.
He's the general.
But the
and he realizes as a coach for a team, if he had a player that's on the injured reserve and he's going to play in the championship game, he needs that injured reserve player back, which is Superman.
Yeah.
And everybody else is like, well, we don't know what's going to happen, this and that. And he's like, I don't care what happens. It can't be any worse than this other. But they did a good job of making, I think Wonder Woman was kind of on the fence and more sympathetic and concerned overall, where Batman's like, hey, we're going to do it.
Right.
I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
All the characters represented themselves pretty well.
Yeah. Each one felt like a real person. As far as like, they even when they agreed, they didn't, like on bringing back Superman, they didn't necessarily agree all the way. Like Wonder Woman thought they should bring him back, but it's not like she was all gung-ho on Batman's team. She wasn't fully supportive of him.
I would argue that of all the characters that do the fighting, she's the most badass of all of them. The scene, we need to get to that scene.
Where the bank scene?
Let's discuss a couple little other things, though, real quick. All right, so we see the box wake up.
Yes.
So you're right. You're dead on. You did a good job of recognizing that. And it's going across, and it's going to wake up all of them.
Right. So you see the...
And a lot of people probably didn't get that.
It's not like explained explicitly, but they touch back to it later in the movie when they're like, why haven't these things woken up before?
Oh, absolutely.
Because they brought Cyborg back to life, they activated it, and it didn't wake up.
And then with other movies and stuff, they might have done like a reflective scene to remind you
that Superman died. And,
right. But for this, it wasn't necessary. You need to just pay attention.
Yeah.
All right, so up to this point, you heard me when this first came on, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with the format?
aspect ratio. Yes.
And I was irritated by it, and I couldn't believe they did it, et cetera, et cetera. And then you explained potentially they did it because of IMAX, et cetera, et cetera. So my point was, I worked in 4:3 for a long time before 16 by 9 and this and that. All my televisions are now 16 by 9,
et cetera, it's what you're used to seeing as widescreen format.
So, but by this scene, I forgot all about it. As a person that deals with moving images and stuff in commercials and brand anthems, et cetera, the shots themselves are very important to me.
Right.
And what's weird is I'm watching. I don't really like Zack Snyder.
He's hit or miss for me as well.
Well, I do now. But,
sure.
But and I love 300. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes I feel like his wife has more influence than he does as a filmmaker, and I see subtle little things in it that are feminine when I think they should be masculine. So I have my own reasoning.
Sure.
But I looked on HBO, and it's like they let the filmmaker pick his favorite movies. And you can go and see what he thinks are his movies that he likes the most. And it turned out they're almost identical to mine. Right. So obviously, I do like Zack Snyder a lot. And I do like the artistic merit that he brings to it.
Yeah.
The other thing, he uses a lot of close-up shots.
You love close-ups, man. Yeah.
Oh, well, here's the difference. For me, a close-up shot is like reading a book. It's not telling you the whole story. It lets your imagination build the story, and all of a sudden you're thinking of 10 or 20 different things. It's causing you to think. And in causing you to think, it's causing you to use your imagination. So I lean towards close-ups simply because it frees me up to understand it in various ways all at one time, which is stimulating to me. All right, so,
and they're gorgeous. I mean, a good close-up shot is just nice to look at.
All right, so this is where I got hooked. This whole scene where she's going out and she's carrying extra coffee and stuff, and you're wondering what the heck.
Yeah.
And then the music, the slow motion, they do a lot of symbolism in this. It's not documentary style. So many movies now are pure documentary style that I like films like this that are more about, like that Coming By is telling the story. And then they show this. It's telling the story without having to tell the story.
Right, yeah, what I liked about this scene especially too is there's almost no dialogue until Lois Lane comes to this police officer who's kind of guarding, I guess, on patrol in front of Superman's monument, and they basically exchange dialogue that kind of cues you into the fact that she comes here every day.
Right.
And then you actually don't even know where she is at first. You get some more close-ups, you see the flowers, and then you start to infer, okay, maybe this is some sort of gravesite or something. And then it's not until you see a shot of, she puts the coffee down, right? She's got a wedding ring on, because Clark was supposed to propose before he died. And so then you get this other shot that racks focus to the destroyed monument of Superman, which is just super symbolic.
Destroyed.
Right, because Superman's dead. But also, it's a monument, so it's like a gravesite. So it's like she's visiting this dead, this monumental dead. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
it's and then we're out of that, poetic. And we're in London. And then, so we've established kind of like why we like the movie. I will say that this might be my favorite scene.
Because I like that scene also.
This is when they take over the bank and Wonder Woman does her thing. So I'm just going to fast forward to, but again, it's just close-up shot after close-up shot to help tell the story.
What's interesting is you'll see they follow these guys through this bank or whatever, and the entire time they just track this briefcase. So like again, no dialogue, but you infer
foreshadowing.
You infer this briefcase is very important.
Right, and again, that's not done a lot in movies anymore.
Correct.
And that's
I mean, this is a big
this.
action scene. If you think about this group of guys going in and shooting up this museum or bank or whatever, they're going in and shooting this place up, and you don't see hardly any of them killing the guards or anything. Like, you hear all this gunfire and you see it in the background, but a lot of it is just tracking this briefcase, right? So you get a wider shot there.
There it is again.
They're guarding this briefcase. This is important.
Right.
And it's not even important, all the chaos that's going on around it.
Right.
Which is also different than a lot of movies. You'd focus a lot on the fighting and the chaos. And no. So I thought this was a cool scene too. And again, Wonder Woman is just a badass when she goes and fights these guys, blocking bullets.
Yeah, and this guy reveals, because of her rope,
the lasso of
reveals
truth.
what's really going on. And then we come back to the case again.
Right.
So we have all of that, and then she's just going to wreak havoc on them to no end.
I thought it was cool. There was a good mix of slow and regular motion.
Yes.
Because you got to see her movements in a slower speed, but also you got to see how fast she's moving relative to everybody else.
Right.
Which is extremely fast.
Which is almost like Flash.
Yeah, not quite
Flash
as fast.
I know it's not nearly as fast.
But definitely a superhuman level of speed. Yeah.
Right. Now, I wasn't crazy about that angled shot, but that's my own reasoning.
And then this scene also where she blocked, this dude's going to shoot these kids or whatever.
Oh, yeah, and this guy's happy. I mean, he's like, everybody's dead.
Now, I think this is a cool touch.
Yeah.
Either he ran out of ammunition or she disarmed him on the way to the case, which is cool.
We don't know that.
So that's why he's actually got to pick up this automatic weapon.
Right.
And then she comes in and saves the day again.
But he's got to reload it.
So
all this is taking time.
So it also gives you believability in the fact that she could actually recover and make it here in time to save these people.
Right, agreed. And he's got to think about who he's going to kill first.
Sure.
So he's in a little bit of thought. But this right here, the way she moves right here, I thought was very interesting. It's like a basketball drill.
Yeah.
Watch.
Just like pivoting her body.
Yeah, but she stays
twisting.
low, super
Yeah.
low. Now that was interesting in that it seemed like the bullet had already passed.
Right.
So it was an interesting edit that I don't necessarily agree with right there. But they did it. But I like the way, look how low she's staying. And again, it's like, where you walk like a duck in football and basketball drills, et cetera.
Right.
And then he knows it's over. You can see in his face, he's going to try, but he knows it's over.
Yeah, right.
Right. I mean, look. And he's fidgeting a little bit, and she puts the kaboom on him.
Yeah. So.
And so his body parts and pieces
Once again,
are be all over everywhere.
Just a cool scene, and it establishes how powerful she is above the average person. And so it's believable when she goes toe-to-toe with these other guys in the movie who were superhuman.
The hat.
You know he's dead.
I mean, that's old school movie making.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Yeah, you don't have to see the body.
No, I love it.